Hello everyone. After a long time I'm finally here to bring you the realistic power levels from the Majin Buu saga. I just want to warn you that before watching this video, you should watch the video of the realistic power levels from the Cell saga, and also the video of the most powerful Majin Buu. Without those two, this video won't make any sense. Warning given. Now let's get to the video. Let's start with the most basic ones, beginning with Supreme Kai, which is said in Daizenshu to have a power equal to that of Goku in the Cell games, making it 2.4 trillion power level. Then there's Gohan, who was actually weaker than in the Cell saga, but the difference wasn't as great as many people think, having 55 billion in base form, 2.75 trillion in Super Saiyan, and 5.5 trillion in Super Saiyan 2. Moving on to Goten, this is going to surprise some people, and no, Goten is not weaker than Frieza of Namek, not even close. It is said that Goten had a power close to Gohan's during his training, so Goten would have a power not far from Gohan's power, so it couldn't be half of Gohan's power based on the table I've already shown you. It would be around 36 billion power level in base form, and 1.8 trillion in Super Saiyan. Moving on to Trunks, who was slightly stronger than Gohan, and based on the table we built in the Cell saga video, Trunks would then be 1.25 times more powerful than Goten, having 45 billion in base form, and 2.25 in Super Saiyan. Then there's Kibito, who is said in Daizenshu to have a power equivalent to that of base Gohan, in other words 55 billion. Finally, to round off the first part of the Buu saga, we have Piccolo, who over the 7 years has become much stronger. It is said that he is stronger than Goten and Trunks, so he would have to be stronger than 2.25 billion, but it is also clear that he was inferior to Supreme Kai, so he would be between 2.25 billion and 2.4 billion. So let's put him in the middle, 2.32 billion. Let's go to the Babidi arc, starting with Vegeta. He said he could defeat Dabura, who would have more or less the same power as Cell, making him very close to him in Super Saiyan but still inferior. The thing is, Vegeta says that Goku surpassed Gohan from the Cell saga only when Goku uses Super Saiyan 2. So both Goku and Vegeta, in my opinion, would be weaker than Gohan from the Cell saga in Super Saiyan but very close. And yes, Vegeta could already use Super Saiyan 2 before becoming Majin Vegeta. This is confirmed in Daizenshu. Overall, Vegeta would have 130 billion in base form, followed by Pui Pui, who would be much lower than Vegeta, at a level where he wouldn't stand a chance. In the table he fits perfectly at 2 times weaker than Vegeta, but they fight on Pui Pui's planet where Pui Pui has a 10 times advantage. Which would mean that in the end, Pui Pui would be 20 times weaker than Vegeta base, making it 6.5 billion. And then Yakon, who on the Babidi scale, Yakon has a power of 800 Kili, while Goku in Super Saiyan has a power of 3000 Kili. Taking these two values, and taking Goku's power level, we can do the rule of 3. We arrive at Yakon's power, which is 1.86 trillion. Dabura is said to have the same power as Cell. However, after Goku says this, he says that he was actually much stronger than he thought, so Dabura would be more powerful than Cell, but I won't do that since in my opinion, he was referring to Dabura's magic since Goku says this after seeing his magic. In other words, in terms of power level Dabura and Cell should be equal, Dabura just has the advantage of magic. Dabura would then have 7.2 trillion. Moving on to Gohan. Yes, the Gohan who faced Dabura is stronger than the Gohan from the beginning of the saga since he received a Zenkai after being healed by Kibito. This version of Gohan would have 66 billion power level in base form, and 6.6 trillion in Super Saiyan 2. Many people think that Gohan would be more powerful than Dabura, which isn't true since Dabura wasn't fighting with everything, and he himself says after the fight that he could defeat them all in the blink of an eye, assuming they had the same power as Gohan. Then there's Majin Vegeta, who would have the same power as Super Saiyan 2 Goku, so both would have 14 trillion power level. Then second to Fat Buu, who was far superior to Majin Vegeta, but Vegeta could still do damage to Fat Buu even if it was minimal damage, which means Fat Buu would be less than 2 times stronger than Vegeta. I bet on 24.5 trillion power level. Moving on to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who would actually be much more powerful than Fat Buu, possessing 56 trillion power level, since Super Saiyan 3 is 4 times more powerful than Super Saiyajin 2. And Goku was very suppressed, since he himself says later that he could have defeated Fat Buu if he wanted to, but he wanted Goten and Trunks to defeat him. Then Good Buu and Evil Buu, who would have 9 trillion and 15.75 trillion respectively. After training in the time room, Goten and Trunks increased their powers, Goten now having 42 billion in base form, and Trunks having 52 billion. However, for the fusion, they would have to have the same power, which is why Trunks lowers his ki to match Goten's. The fusion is said to add up both users' maximum powers and multiply. We don't know a number for sure, so let's assume that the multiplier is 2. Adding Goten's maximum power, which would be 2.1 trillion in Super Saiyan, with Trunks' maximum power, which would also be 2.1 trillion since he would have to match Goten, and then multiplying by 2, Gotenks in base would have a power level of 8.4 trillion. Gotenks would then have 420 trillion in Super Saiyan form, and an incredible 3.36 quadrillion in Super Saiyan 3 form. Super Buu would have a very close but slightly lower power, having 3.2 quadrillion power level. Ultimate Gohan arrives from his training with Old Kai, having a power far superior to Super Buu's, with Gohan in the table having the maximum value, 2 times, so Ultimate Gohan would have a power of 6.4 trillion. After absorbing Gotenks, Buu becomes incredibly powerful with a power level of 30 quadrillion, easily surpassing Gohan. Goku arrives from the other world with an incredible increase in power referred to in an official guide, so Goku would have 52 quadrillion power level, but he would still lose out to Buutenks as Goku quickly becomes worn out and weaker before he can even do anything, while Buutenks has infinite stamina and molecular regeneration. This is followed by Vegeta, who also receives a power boost enough to surpass Ultimate Gohan, since it is said at the time that Goku and Vegeta are the most powerful warriors in the universe, obviously excluding Buu. So at the very least Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta would have 6.5 quadrillion power level. Then Buuhan is said in Daizenshu to have the same power as Super Saiyan 3 Goku, 52 quadrillion, but obviously Goku is still far inferior for the same reasons I mentioned earlier. Secondly, for the powerful Vegetto, who again is a fusion, so the rule applies, a sum of the maximum powers and a multiplication. In this case, it's a Patara fusion, in other words, the added power can be different, so the added power would be 52 quadrillion plus 6.5 quadrillion, and then multiplied by 2, base Vegetto would have 117 quadrillion power level. And then an incredible 5.85 quintillion in Super Saiyan. He could still transform into Super Saiyan 2 having twice the power he had in Super Saiyan, but as he didn't transform I won't include it in the video. Finally we have Kid Buu, who would have twice the power of Super Saiyan 3 Goku, since it is said that Goku's blows no longer cause damage, mentioning a full power Goku. Even though Goku said he could defeat Kid Buu, it was at the beginning of the fight that he didn't know Kid Buu's real power. At the end he says that the only thing capable of defeating Kid Buu would be the Spirit Bomb. If you want to know more about Kid Buu's power and how he is so powerful even though it doesn't make sense, watch the video I mentioned at the beginning about the most powerful Buu. Finally, the fusion of Kibito and Supreme Kai, which following the same logic as the previous fusions, Kibitoshin would have a power of 4.91 trillion. And that was the video. If you want a video about the Battle of the Gods, let me know in the comments, but I'll warn you that the numbers get incredibly high in Dragon Ball Super. Take care and I'll see you in the next video.